give the call to the Leader of the Nationals.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is the Minister representing the Minister for Agriculture. I refer to the example of a Goulburn Valley fruit grower that employs 25 casual and part-time farmhands throughout the year and an additional team of 30 regular seasonal pickers and packers. Under Labor's industrial relations changes, if a representative for fruit pickers from that farm and the neighbour's farm successfully applies to the Fair Work Commission to bargain a single interest employer agreement, could all similar fruit growers be forced into multiple employer bargaining?
The call to the Minister representing the Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry.
Thanks very much to the Shadow Minister for his question, and I too, given it is an industrial relations question, will refer to the relevant minister. But I do want to start this.
Order.
Is the proposition that you are putting to this parliament is that regional Australians don't deserve a pay rise? Is that the proposition that you are putting to the parliament?
Order.
Is the proposition
right?
that you are putting to the parliament that people who work on farm communities should be paid
the Leader
lower?
Of the Nationals has
that
asked
is basically the proposition you are putting. You are not supporting regional Australians by putting this question.
The Leader of the Nationals has asked
that
his question.
Anybody who works for farm communities, anybody who works for agricultural and regional businesses does not deserve a pay rise. And I'll ask the Industrial Relations Minister to answer the specifics of the member's question.
I'll call the Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations.
Two things, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Minister for joining me to be able to answer the question. Two things on the example that's being given. First of all, in terms of the final line, people don't get forced. Either the employer opts in or the workforce vote to be part of an agreement. That's what happens. People don't get compelled in the way that he's just described. The workforce, those opposite think the only person at the bargaining table is the employer. But that's essentially what's at the heart of this. And that's why they can say forced, because they fail to acknowledge the right of the workforce to be able to have a vote as to whether or not they want to be part of something. But of all the industries to come to this House and say, here's an industry where it's outrageous to get pay rises, he chose horticulture.
Minister will pause. I'll call the Leader of the Nationals on a point of order. Members on my right.
Speaker. It is relevance, Mr Speaker. The question is very specific and the Minister is going off in terms of the representative for fruit pickers, which means he is venturing away from the actual act and what a representative involved in those negotiations.
You may resume your seat. The question was about employment bargaining. The Minister is... The Leader of the Nationals has asked his question. He may not like the answer, but the Minister is being relevant regarding employment bargaining. And I'll give him the call.
So I don't blame the farmers for this. I don't blame the horticulturalists themselves, because principally they've been paying rates to labour hire firms that they had a right to believe people were being properly paid. But what has been happening has been the worst examples of people being underpaid that we've seen in Australia have been in that exact industry. And the Leader of the Nationals can scoff at it and say it doesn't matter. When people are being paid $4 an hour, it matters. When people are being paid as little as that, it needs to be fixed. When people are being paid
the Leader of the Nationals
absolutely appalling rates of pay so that they end up fishing out of bins to get food at the back of supermarkets, yes, absolutely we make sure that we will act on those areas. And those opposite, why don't you make one question, have one question at some point, those opposite, that encourages pay rises? Just one. There's been plenty of questions on industrial relations, but not one that has encouraged rates of pay in this country to go up.